and they are going through, and so far so good. No positive tests. That's an unmitigated bit of good news. As the bubble, the idea was that everyone would be tested extensively before they went into the bubble. Those that were, there are still some players who aren't there. There's still some players who are back at home. And the NBA has really ramped up their lack. There's a complete lack of transparency. I mean, the secrecy has been ramped up to the nth degree. So it's really hard to even get from teams who's there, who's not. People have had to kind of scramble and make those lists themselves. There are a few guys like Bam Adebayo who's not there, and people have speculated about what's happening. You sort of assume if a guy's not there at this point that he must be positive, but who knows? But the guys that are there are no positive tests, so that's excellent news. And the bubble seems to be working quite well. The numbers have been good in the NHL as well, with them continuing to kind of put their precautions in place. And that is definitely good news, CJ. If you can control the environment. Now the problem, of course, is that it requires, this is a $150 million expense for the NBA with a huge amount of testing that's returned on a regular basis. These tests are returned within 24 hours, rather than the norm around here, which is a week or 10 days or more, which you need consistent, constant, quickly return tests in order to maintain the stability of something like this. But at the very least, the principles they've put in place seem to be working as expected.
This is the blueprint for how to do it. Like once you set it up, you keep people who have it out, be it Bam or Russell Westbrook or anybody else who may have contracted it. You keep them out until they hit you with a couple of negative tests. Then you allow them in. You allow them to quarantine just to make sure that those tests weren't false negatives. And then you just test. Control the environment, like you said. Keep outside factors away. And you can have a situation where nobody's testing positive and you get to take a bit of a victory lap on today. Here's hoping that it continues, though. Here's hoping that we don't get a situation, because this is still my fear, that we get a situation where somebody breaches the bubble and end up with COVID-19 and it spreads before anybody can stop it, even though you're doing a whole bunch of testing, even though you are doing your best to control the mitigating circumstances and everything that goes along with that. My fear is still that something happens that breaches the bubble, and now you've got all of these people in an area that has COVID-19, and then it's just allowed to spread because it spreads so quickly and so rampantly that it spreads and shuts everything down. But this is huge. This is good. And if you're taking notes at home and you want to have sports, be it Major League Baseball or NFL or college football, this is what you need to look at and say, okay, how can we might not be able to do the full-on bubble, but what aspects of the NBA bubble can we take to our sport to make sure that we are mitigating the risk and putting our athletes in the safest conditions possible while they go out there and compete and entertain the masses.
Yeah, I think that this is where we are. I mean, it requires an extraordinary commitment to be able to try to do this. And it's here's the next thing. You have to always maintain your guard, as everyone's talking about. The Grizzlies yesterday doing their press conferences last night. Actually, they were end up talking last night. They were all continuing to wear their masks even as they did their availability, which is the first time that they've done that. But the point was, it was John Moran, Anthony Tolliver, and Taylor Jenkins. But the point of that was that they were trying to really hammer home the idea of wearing the mask and continuing to wear the mask. And they didn't even take it off to talk. Most players, and they've always taken it off when talking to the media. Now they are not doing that. And again, it's just kind of a reminder of what they think is important. And they're all they're being pretty vigilant by all accounts. I know that the snitch hotline has been the source of a lot of jokes and sports radio theater and all that stuff. But it is important, if you're going to have a campus atmosphere and bubble and all that stuff, it doesn't work if you have a few people out there just clowning around and not doing it and getting reckless. That's all it takes, because if you get one case in this bubble, it will spread quickly, because once you're in the bubble, you're still taking plenty of precautions, but you are close together. You are on a team. You're out there on a court. It doesn't take long for that thing to spread. So it's vital that you keep that thing at bay, and what all those precautions are there to do that. The concern obviously is still with the employees that are in and out. The concern is with the restaurants and all that stuff. But so far, so good, and fingers crossed that continues, because we are just days away from the first scrimmages. We are about a week and a half or so away from games getting underway potentially, and that would be amazing. We got to get there, and we got to hope that it all kind of goes well. But so far, at least, so good.
Everybody wants sports. Everybody wants to return to some semblance of normalcy. I think where people begin to split is the risk associated with that, where some don't want to take unnecessary risk, or want to make sure that we've thought all the way through the situation to make sure that we can do things safely and securely. And I think that is where the split happens. And the NBA is showing right now, this is early, but right now, like, this is how to go about having sports safely and securely. This is how to go about doing it. Sure, you crack the jokes about, like you said, the snitch hotline, the food being terrible. By the way, I don't know who the hell the chef is in the Wubble, but they eating over there in the Wubble. It is bussing over there. But we crack those jokes all we want to. But the NBA has done a good job of testing, getting the test results back quickly, and isolating, quarantining those people who end up with COVID-19 and not letting them into the bubble. I think that on a much larger scale, if you wanted to extend the thought all the way out, something similar could be done in society at large, where you sit there and you get these tests. Not only do you test, but you get the results back quickly. You do a better job quarantining. You do a better job self-isolating. You do a better job contact tracing. And we can see, not just over here in the NBA, but we can see around the globe what that has done to the coronavirus pandemic in other areas, and how they really snuffed it out by simply doing those things. And over here, this is an example in the United States of it working, of getting back to normal by using science and data to push you and drive you, and taking the steps necessary to really quell the spread of COVID-19. It wasn't oh my gosh, we're all in the bubble. What about Russell Westbrook? Russell Westbrook is a big-time star. He's got it. He can't come. We don't know what was up with James Harden, but like you said, if they're not there, feel like it's kind of safe to assume that they had it at one point in time. James Harden, another big-time star. He can't come, but he's a huge star. He matters. Yes, he does, but everybody matters. And we can't have him in there with it.
All players matter.
We can't have him in it and then have him at practice spreading the coronavirus around. No, we can't do that. So no matter how big your stardom is, no matter how important and how invaluable you are to your team and to the NBA at large, they realize, hey, we've got to treat everybody the same as it pertains to how we treat them when they come down with COVID-19. And if you've got it, you can't be in it.
The thing is that if there's a limit, I think, to how much we can take from this. I mean, you could certainly take the idea that if you have enough testing and enough of a bubble and enough of then you can start to better control your situation. But the amount of resources that are required to do that right now are huge and vast. And there is a separate moral issue which we've not really wrestled with a whole lot, here and there. The idea being that, of course, in Florida, where you are still struggling to get test results, and if you look even around here locally, like the numbers of tests that are reported are fluctuate wildly. It was you've had 3,000 on one day. You've had yesterday was 1,600 or so tests that were reported. And they're just a backlog, and so they come in bursts, and then they tamp back down, and the results that you're getting today were probably tests that were done a week ago. And that's so you can say The NFL has talked about their new policy, and they're going to have testing every day because the players have asked for it, and I think that makes perfect sense. But they're saying, well, we've contracted with a private group, and we're not going to take any capacity away from people. But my question would be, why isn't that capacity already being used for people? How could you have private capacity that is just sitting there untouched at the moment when we are in the middle of a major crisis in the country? And people don't get any results. People are not getting their results in a timely fashion. Pretty much anywhere around the country, they're struggling to get it done. If we got labs that are just sitting there waiting for action and are not getting themselves involved in this thing, that's immoral. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I don't buy the idea that you can just say, well, we're not taking capacity away from the general public. Of course you are. Now the question is that worth it? I mean, maybe some would say that having sports is enough of a moral benefit and enough of a morale boost for the people and everything else that, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth them getting preferential treatment. It's worth them taking tests away from the general public. It's worth them taking capacity away from the general public in order for that to happen. I don't think that's necessarily true, but maybe you could make that argument. But you can't make the argument that that's just some random capacity that we're generating out of thin air. Why isn't that capacity already in use? I mean, what morality is that? If you're sitting there with a lab that's just twiddling their thumbs, waiting for some action in the middle of this thing when people are waiting weeks for this, I don't buy that. I think that's a convenient moral argument to say that we're not taking capacity. How are you not?
Peter, I mean, what's supposed to happen? Are they not supposed to spend money to get the best? Does money not drive everything over here? Because it does. Money affects access to health care. Clearly, in this situation, we see how the money affects access to health care. It's always affected access to health care. What are the people with the money supposed to do? Not use it to their advantage?
No. That's not my argument. I'm not saying that. I mean, I get what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is you have to be honest about what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest about what the argument is. I understand their idea of spending the money and why they're doing it and all that. What I'm saying is you can't just say that you are doing that and it has no effect on the rest of the population at large. You can't say I'm spending money to jump to the front of the line and therefore everything else is exactly the same as it would have been without that. That is not true. That is a false argument. You can't have labs that are sitting there not part of the capacity because they're waiting for massive infusions of money from the NBA or the NFL or whoever else. That can't happen. That's my argument. So I'm saying it's a convenient way to say it to make yourself feel better. That okay, we're not taking capacity from the general public, but the truth is you are. You absolutely are. You have to be. There's no way around it. And so the question becomes, is that okay? Are you okay with that? Well, maybe you are, maybe you're not, but let's have the argument the way that it actually is rather than just make up some fantasy argument that you're inventing capacity from out of nowhere when that isn't the case.
That is and it goes to one of my main issues with the whole pandemic, all the way up to this point. Like that's not on the NBA, that's on leadership. That's on somebody who should have stepped in and be like, no, we don't operate that way. We don't operate in such a way where money grants you better access to health. If we have, if life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, like really mattered, like if that's a core value of this nation, I think the nation wants it to be. Well, your health has a direct implication that you can draw a direct line to life with health. And so if you're saying everybody has that right to life, then what you're saying is everybody has a right to be healthy, and that your money does not mean that you jump people in line. However, we live in a society where money does allow you to jump in line, not just from a consumerism standpoint, but from a health standpoint, especially from a healthcare standpoint. The people with the money get the best healthcare, have the best access to the healthcare. And in a global pandemic, what you would have liked to have seen, what I would have liked to have seen, is that money kind of be thrown out the window, that wealth component of this be kind of tempered a bit and say, hey, we're all in this together. Everybody's dealing with the global pandemic. Leadership would then step in and say, hey, if you've got a available lab, we're going to use that to get these tests out, one, and to get the results back fast, two. But that's not what leadership is doing. And so if leadership, in the absence of leadership, you then as an entity have to look out for you. You just have to, and that's unfortunate. That's callous. That's cold. It is really dark and grim when you think about it that way. But I can't say that the NBA should be doing anything else if leadership is not going to step in and demand it of them.
Well, like I said, I'm not necessarily saying that the NBA, should stop or anything else. I'm just saying that we have to just be honest about what's happening. That's it. Just call it like it is. In the NFL, same way. I mean, in MLB, same way. And then if you want to get into a deeper discussion about the morality of a for-profit system that is simply, at the beck and call of people that have enough money to jump to the front of the line, then we can have that conversation. That is more than just testing. That's more than just coronavirus. That's everywhere. That's where we are right now. So we can have that discussion. My point is just that there's a lot of people who will come up with an idea. I think it's great. As I said, it's unmitigated positive news what's happening right now in the bubble in terms of not, no spread of the coronavirus, no positive tests, everything's cool. That is definitely positive. That's definitely a good sign. Shows that it's working at this point as it's supposed to. That's thumbs up right there. My point is just that you have to be honest about what it takes to do that, and how it is not applicable to the schools locally or anywhere else in the country, how it's not applicable to colleges, how it's not applicable to communities. It is a complete and total sui generis. It's that's it. You can't. Nothing else can happen. It's its own thing, and that's it. And same thing with these other leagues that have, literally billions of dollars potentially to play with. It requires that much in our system. It's a shame that it does, because we got a lot of people out here that are, I don't know if you've seen what's going on in McAllen, Texas, but it is rough. It is awful. The state of those emergency rooms and what they're doing with those patients, and man, it's awful. So I struggle with that a little bit. I mean, if I'm being honest, I struggle with that disparity.
We all should struggle with that disparity, because what is happening right now, and you hit the hammer on the head. What is, or hit the nail on the head? Excuse me. What is happening is showing you, if you got the money, this is easy. This isn't hard. If you got the money, but who's got the money? Does your local school district have the money? No. What about your local place of higher education? Do they have the money? Most of them, no. No, they don't.
And they're asking these organizations to put in some of these provisions that we're talking about. Put in different, but they're not giving them PPE. They're not giving them money to actually buy the stuff. They're not giving them any kind of. And they're saying, well, you got to make it safe. Well,
okay, cool. Where's the money at to make it?
Yeah,
safe?
How am I going to do that?
Money has a way of making everything a little bit better, and in this case, money has a way of really driving down the numbers so far of the coronavirus. So it's twofold. It's the bubble and the money that the NBA has to be able to put everybody in the bubble and to do the testing and to get the testing back quickly. If only everybody had the money. So then the next question is why everybody doesn't have the money, to me. And if it is so important to you to get things back open, well, then it must be pretty important to you to spend the money necessary to make sure that they can open safely and that people have faith in everything opening up. It's not hard. This is a blueprint on how to handle it, what the NBA has shown us. Now, what you have to do next, if you're a person in leadership, is get your people the things that the NBA has and financially back them the way the NBA has financially backed the players and the support staff. If you do that, you're straight. People aren't going to do that, though. People don't want to do that for whatever reason. And that is why the pandemic has taken the turn that it has here in the last 2.5 months. You brought up that county in Texas. It was another Texas county that had 84 infants test positive. Come on, man.
Well, the good news requires money. That's the one thing that we have learned about this situation. You got to invest. You got to have resources. You got to invest. And if you don't, then it's going to be hard to get this thing under control. And you're in a situation like we are right now, where the positivity rates are way, way, way too high. here locally. When we come back, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about why I'm starting to talk myself into the Grizzlies here a little bit during all of this. That's next in the Family Leisure Studios. Real Sports Talk Sports 56 96.1 87.7.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure.
Talking myself into the Grizzlies. I gotta tell you, the longer this thing goes on, now I'm hopefully I'm not jinxing it, but the longer this thing goes on, and with the minimum possible drama from the Grizzlies and other teams, dealing with various things that are going on. I gotta say, the Grizzlies have sailed through. They've had excellent chemistry. They've had productive team meetings. Taylor Jenkins talking yesterday about them getting together to watch 13th and have a big roundtable discussion. And they've been doing that on a fairly regular basis. Talking about issues of race and then obviously collectively dealing with the coronavirus stuff. Everyone's healthy. They've worked pretty well together. By all accounts, John Moran has been on point and has been in excellent form in these in these inter-squad scrimmages. They've had a couple of those now, including one yesterday. CJ, I don't like you can make the case a young team that has had a quote unquote off season to synthesize the information that they got through the regular season, get healthier, come back. If they can just shoot a little bit better, I think they could be some trouble. I think they could surprise some folks.
What does that mean to surprise some folks? Are we talking get out of the first round type surprise?
That would be shocking some folks. If they beat the Lakers, oh boy. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they could win more than most of the national observers that I follow are still talking mostly about the Pelicans and kind of, I'm not going to say overlooking the Grizzlies, but just kind of the Grizzlies will probably be there, but not really spending much time thinking about what they're going to do and saying, they'll go, 2-6, 3-5. And I think they could win, 5 of these 8 games. I think they can come out of the gates strong. And I think they would get to the playoffs. Get in, whatever play-in situation they got to do. Get in the playoffs, and I think when I talk about making some noise, I talk about winning maybe a couple games against the Lakers.
Okay.
Taking that thing to 6.
I think if they leave the bubble with 7-8 wins, that is impressive. That is encouraging. The bubble is full of teams that are in playoff contention, and it's not going to be easy. And then you'll have a first-round matchup, presumably against the Los Angeles Lakers. So if you can get 7-8 wins from really good teams in playoff contention and the best team in the West, that bodes well for you in the future.
We'll talk more about what some of that means going forward. Plus, hour number 2, we're going to spin that wheel of conversation. Plenty more to get to here in the Family Leisure Studios. Text is 67129. Check us out, Periscope, YouTube, Instagram, on Facebook. We're all over the place. Come see us. Come watch us. You can see me and CJ and Zach just doing our thing. We'd love to have you join us on the stream, and you could chat there, too. It comes right into the studio, so check that out. In the meantime, we'll come back. Lots more to get to here in the Family Leisure Studios. Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 96.1, 87.7.
I will forever say LeBron James is not in the bubble. I don't think he's in it. Again, bubble adjacent, a bubble burb, the love bubble, but in the actual bubble, no, I don't think LeBron is kicking it like that with them regular dudes.
Even Austin Rivers went on Instagram Live saying LeBron ain't living with us. He ain't living with us. And if he was living with us, he'll probably own this one big building on the other side of campus. But he's not living with us.
I just think he's probably in a nice room. I think he's in the bubble, but I think he's just in a really, really nice suite. That's what I like the super nice presidential, the emperor's suite.
You think he's in the princess castle? He's in the
correct.
room.
Yeah,
in
he's in Sleeping Beauty. He's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in Cinderella, the whole thing.
Okay.
Because if Damian Lillard's getting the presidential suite, with respect to Dame's a star, but he's not in
LeBron.
the same stratosphere as LeBron. If he gets the presidential suite, LeBron should get the whole floor. I mean, some of these dudes are out here just getting like a nice, regular 2-bedroom or a 2-bed, like one of those deals that you get when you go to Motel 6 like Rajon Rondo. But LeBron is, LeBron's out there. LeBron's got the whole thing. He's got, probably 5,000 square feet and a whole personal gym and everything else. I think the La Bubble is different. I do think he's there.
No, the La Bubble is certainly different, and we are all in agreement. The La Bubble is different.
Yeah.
Peter is saying though that the La Bubble is a spot inside the actual bubble.
Yes, the inside. Yes, he's in the bubble. He's not out. He's not leaving the perimeter of the bubble. They would not allow even LeBron to do that.
I think he's in a bubble burb. So bubble like the Cordova of the bubble.
No, they
like
can't.
That.
It's
I think
too,
he's
no,
there.
no. It's
Okay.
too wild out there. It's too wild. What would he even be doing? His family's not there. He's not. I mean, what would be the point? It's not. He can't go out there and
I
have
want to see
fun.
LeBron James fishing. That is what I want, and it's not about
LeBron
having
doesn't
fun.
like to fish.
LeBron James does not want to be with the riffraff, with the common
No,
folks. You're not
he
going to
doesn't.
wake LeBron James up bouncing a basketball at 3 in the morning. Jimmy James Butler,
No.
like he doesn't want any of those
That's what I'm
type
saying.
shenanigans.
And that's why
So
he's
he
not.
wants
That's
his
why
own
he's not
space.
there. He's got his own space. He's doing his own
Okay.
thing. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't worry about Jimmy Butler. Was Jimmy Butler got? Why is Jimmy Butler, if he's a quote unquote star, why is he out there in a room where people could hear him bouncing the ball? Shouldn't he have his own wing? Come on, man.
I'm kind of surprised LeBron hasn't done a banana boat with Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony.
I mean, all his all his peoples is
Right.
in the bubble. I'm confident that Melo and Paul are in the bubble. Them his boys. He ain't kicking it with them because he's not. I don't think he's in the bubble. He is certainly not in the bubble like all the common players. He is not in the bubble though. He's got his own La Bubble going on. I wonder what's in the La Bubble. I wonder if they got ping pong tables. If you can play doubles ping pong in the La Bubble.
It's just him, isn't it? Like, or is this like him and his team?
That's the other question. Like, is LeBron and the crew in there in the La Bubble? I don't know.
Well, I think that you're talking about the. Like I'm looking at the tower here and the way that it goes, and I think that you're talking about the presidential suite in the Coronado Springs. We're talking about this thing's got. It looks like it's. I want to say that it looks like a dadgum house. I mean, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is enormous, and so I think that's what we're dealing with here.
Okay.
I think you're talking about. He's in the preferred executive suite that they've got with the preferred. I mean, he's in the whole thing. Like he's not with the.
Right.
He's not with Alex Caruso, who's in the standard room with no view. He's basically in the janitor's closet.
But he's not with the other superstars either.
Yeah.
Like LeBron James is different than Giannis, different than James Harden, different than
LeBron's on a different level. No,
yeah,
but
so
I
he's
think
not with
Giannis is
the-
the same
with
way. I
them
think Giannis is they're all in the nicest, suites of all the suites. Those guys, they're in the Grand Destino. The other teams that are in the Grand Floridian, all that stuff. I mean, I think some of the rooms are nicer than others. That's all I'm saying. I think LeBron could set up his own little, wine tasting and the stuff that LeBron likes to do. He could have his LeBron time, clutch meetings, and all that stuff. He
Yes.
could do all that in his little space, right there. And his space is bigger than the other space.
He's got space. Everybody else got rooms. Kawhi
Correct.
Leonard got a
Correct.
room. Paul George got a room.
Yeah,
LeBron
LeBron's got
James has a
space.
space.
He can spread out all the La Bubble is a separate inside, but you got to have special wristbands to get into the La Bubble. You have to have your own
It's
Corona
extra
check.
It's extra security at the door.
Correct.
Doing tests. You want to
That's
get
right.
in here? We got to test you.
Yeah, we got to test you again.
Again.
We have to double test you
Yeah, we'll let you know what your
for
results
more
are
than
from
just
us.
more than just Corona. We're testing IQ tests. We got to have the whole. That's why Dwight can't get in there because you can't pass the IQ test to get in. You got to be of a certain. You have to be. LeBron has to know you're not going to be stupid when you get into the La Bubble. And because then you don't mess the whole thing up. If you let someone in the La Bubble and messes the whole thing up, then it's ruined. So he's got his own protocols, but he's there. He's there. Don't worry about that. He's there, and he's getting to walk around. Like I said, like I was talking about earlier. All most joking aside, not all joking aside, most joking aside. I think LeBron. It's got to be cool for LeBron to be able to just walk around and just know that he's only going to see players and NBA people. Like that's it. Like he doesn't have to worry about walking around and having to get mobbed by a bunch of random people or going wherever. He just goes. He just walks around, and he knows that he's not going to have any kind of autograph seekers or any of that. He gets to just kind of walk around and be himself and just kind of focus on basketball. He's probably never had that, and since he was
sophomore in
junior,
high school,
sophomore. Yeah, I mean, maybe so he's probably never had that where he could just walk around, and just be just like you and me, be able to walk. Well, you being able to walk around without being mobbed by people.
I be forgetting folks be mobbing you, Peter.
Yeah, I long for those days. It's difficult.
Honestly, they used to mob me because they knew I knew you. Like, hey, your voice sounds familiar. You're that other guy that works with Peter Edmondson and Zach Boyd. I was like, yes. Even my own family. Mm-hmm. Like, hey.
Well, that's true. I do know that. That's very true. I do.
You're my sister's favorite. Zach's my mom's favorite.
That's just part of it. You just got to get in the bubble. You just got to deal with it. So he's getting a chance to kind of have that normal life, which is which is probably unique for him. In the little bubble.
I like to see him walking around the little bubble. The bubble. I'd like that video of him walking around the bubble, getting to and fro. That's all I'm saying. We got videos of everybody else. We don't got no LeBron videos of him kicking it in the bubble.
All right. There you go. Well, we'll spin the wheel when we come back. How about that? We'll spin the wheel. Maybe the bubble will be on the wheel. We'll find out.
I don't know. I still have to put something on there.
Just got a couple more minutes. Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 96.1, 87.7.
R&R on sports.
Anthem.
Yeah.
Our good friend, the Star Spangled Banner. Oh, say can you see and whatnot. Mark Cuban declared that the national anthem police in this country are out of control because he was responding to a conservative talk show host from Dallas who said, "I'm so ready to be on this year's Mavericks home stretch. So much promise, so much personality. But the minute one player kneels during the anthem, I am out. Surely Mark Cuban can lead the way for the Mavs NBA to do whatever gesture they wish without insulting the nation." And Mark Cuban says the national anthem police in this country are out of control. If you want to complain to your boss and ask why they don't play the national anthem every day before you start work. And then, of course, the president popped in this morning and said, anytime I'm looking forward to live sports, but anytime I witness a player kneeling during the national anthem, a sign of great disrespect for our country and our flag, the game is over for me. So, was anybody talking about the NBA kneeling? First of all, I don't even – there was kneeling done in Major League Baseball. I saw Gabe Kapler kneeled, the manager of the Giants. There's been some players who have knelt during the national anthem. And MLB, to their credit, the actual at MLB, the account of Major League Baseball responded to folks and specifically said this is not about, it said this is about them peacefully protesting conditions in the country and police brutality. They actually put that out there, which was surprising to see. But no one's even talked about it with the NBA. It hasn't happened in the NBA because the Players Association and the league has kind of had a lot of dialogue back and forth about what they're supposed to be doing.
There's also no cushion, right? You're just kneeling on hardwood. That's a lot to ask of somebody,
especially in sport. Your knees,
your knees are very important,
crucial.
So, man, listen. Again, if you can't protest by kneeling, you can't protest by raising a fist, you can't protest by marching in the street. That is all too disruptive. You can't block traffic. That is too disruptive. God forbid you can't tear anything up. All right, that's too destructive. That's too disruptive. You don't have an issue with people protesting. You have an issue with what they are protesting at this point. That is what it is. Nobody wants it to get to the point of burning things down and tearing things up. All right, nobody wants that. Nobody thinks that is an appropriate way to go about expressing your frustrations with a system that systemically oppresses black people in the judicial part of our society, right? Nobody wants that sort of reaction to those sorts of real problems. But when you try and take away the peaceful protests, you leave people with no other recourse. When you want to take away the peaceful kneeling, the peaceful fist raising protest, when you want to take away the peaceful protesting and marching in the streets, still going on, by the way. It is still all over. It's still happening. 50-something straight days of protests all over the nation still going on. When you want to take away those types of things, then what? Then how are people supposed to protest? They aren't supposed to protest because you don't think there's anything wrong with the way things are, and you don't understand why they're protesting. So instead of you trying to sit down and figure out why they're protesting and really hear what they're trying to say, you want to silence them to get them to be quiet so you can get back to living your comfortable life, and you're not made uncomfortable by these very real issues in our society. And then you'll turn around when things get hot and wonder why bricks are being thrown through buildings, wonder why people are looting these establishments. Well, you've taken away the freedom, the right to protest, all because you disagreed with it. It's never been about the flag. You know it's not about the flag. You can make it, it's not about the troops. It's never been about the troops. If you want to continue to say that, you're not a good faith conversationer. You want to have a bad faith, dialogue about this, and I'm not going to partake in it. I'm not going to participate in it. It's been said clearly what this is all about, and you just are choosing not to hear that because you want to remain ignorant and comfortable in the life that you have, and refuse to take a look from somebody else's perspective and show some type of empathy towards them and their plight over here. So you got it. There's nothing else that need be said about taking a knee during the national anthem.
No, I think it's all at this point. It's just basically a dog whistle, for
very much so
veiled, in some cases not even veiled racism in the country. It goes back to the point of what Mark Cuban was saying. At this stage now, especially because there's no fans in attendance, why would you play the anthem before these games anyway? What would be the point? Like, I mean, I'll be honest. In general, I don't understand the point of playing the anthem before any game, especially now when it's become such a flashpoint, and it's become an opportunity because it represents different things to different people. It's an opportunity for people who want to protest in a peaceful fashion what they consider a country that has treated them disproportionately badly for generations, to protest that during the anthem. It makes perfect sense. It's also become a flashpoint for people who feel as though that represents the military or represents some other aspect of the country, to stand up and to get mad at people who don't see it the way that they do. It just represents, it's become divisive. I'm not even sure what the point was to honor is there not a better way to honor America? Are there not other ways to honor America, or to honor whoever it is that you want to honor without necessarily playing the anthem prior to the sporting event that involves players from all different countries around the world, and is not an international event? It's not the United States against another team. You're not representing the country. You just happen to be in the country, and you're in Canada. They play the Canadian national anthem when Toronto comes down to play, and it's like, I don't even know if any of the Raptors are actually Canadian. There's like probably 2 or 3 that are. Why would you? It's just as pointless. There's no reason to do it at this point, and so it's a tradition that has long since outlived its usefulness, as far as I'm concerned, and it's now just becoming an opportunity for people to create division. And I don't think that was the point of it to begin with. If it was that important, CJ, we would, if it was that important, on every television broadcast of the game, you would broadcast the national anthem. Mm-hmm. But they don't broadcast the national anthem, other than in the biggest games or the biggest moments or whatever. You don't broadcast the national anthem. Mm-hmm. People would stay in. They wouldn't sell concessions during the national anthem. You wouldn't be allowed to leave your seat during the national anthem. I mean, they do that during plays. You can't just go up and down the aisles during play. People walk on the concourse all the time during the national anthem. So we've long since given up on that whole thing of treating it with respect and whatever. It just that's all out the window. If people want to make that claim, then that's on them. But as long as it's out there, it's going to be a flashpoint, understandably so.
I don't understand the flat. Well, I get it. I get what you're saying. It shouldn't be a flashpoint. because it's not disrespectful to protest, right? It is that protest is one of the things the nation was built on.
Correct.
The right to protest and think about all the good things that have come about because people were willing to peacefully protest, because folks were willing to cross a bridge and be knocked unconscious in the name of freedom, in the name of the freedom for all people to vote. Think about all the things that we can do now because somebody was willing to protest peacefully by sitting at a counter that was not allowed for them to sit at, and where we've gotten to as a nation because of peaceful protests. So if your issue with this movement right now, this moment right now, is the fact that it is disrespectful to the flag or disrespectful to the military, you never wanted to have a real earnest conversation in the first place. If your issue with peaceful protests is the protest itself and not what they're protesting, you don't want to have a real conversation, and that's fine. It's we've come really far, and I don't think that those views expressed by the radio host, by the senator, by other people in leadership, I don't think that those particular views are the majority anymore. We've turned the corner on this topic.
I think so.
And so for me, there's no reason for me to even look back and try and bring everybody else up to speed. We've turned the corner on the topic. We know what it is and what it's about, and why it's important that we do this, and why it's important that we continue to stay on people and try and keep the awareness at a high level, and so that that awareness will lead to some type of meaningful action being taken. So there's no reason for me to look back and try and bring you up to speed, to try and catch you up. Everybody else is caught up. You need to do the same.
Well, and I think ultimately, that's going to be the determination. I think most people, as you say, the majority of folks have understood what the point of it is, and the idea that you are protesting the country and the treatment of black people, the treatment of brown people, the treatment of minorities, the way that this country is not reckoned with its history and where it came from, all these sorts of things that have gone on for a while and that have manifested themselves now in lots of different ways. That's the point. That's the discussion that needs to happen. We all need to talk to each other and be honest with each other about where things are and where they're going. And the anthem discussion can start that, but if you don't want to have that talk, if you don't want to actually go through with it, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be persuaded by this. So that's why I think just do the anthem. Just doesn't. What's the point of it at this stage? It is, it was never meant to be a military anthem. It's not a military anthem. It's not designed just to honor the military. It's not designed just to honor the troops. It's not that's not what it's for. The country the country's not just a military country. We've pushed the military into this, a very prominent position, but it's not just about the military. Military is important, sure, as many other professions and many other aspects of our country are important. So the anthem honors all of them theoretically, and not just one sector over another. It doesn't work that way. And I mean, when we talk about the rank hypocrisy of so much of this stuff drives me crazy, CJ. I mean, you honor and you talk about the founding fathers and the way this country was born. And this country was born of protest and vandalism. I mean, what was the Boston Tea Party if not an incredible act of vandalism? You destroyed a ton of property that belonged to the British government in an attempt to be heard, in an attempt to have your issues that were not being taken care of, when you had been asking repeatedly for representation, when you had been asking repeatedly to be represented, you were being taxed, but you weren't being represented when it came to the government, when it came to the decisions that you were making as a people. And how did the colonial folks respond? How did the Revolutionary War, the progenitors of that whole thing, how do they respond? They responded by raising a big fuss, by destroying property, by destroying valuable goods, and getting the attention of the British government, and then taking up arms, all this stuff. I mean, if you and those people are honored, those people are venerated. But that should bring a giant red flashing light to the idea that if people's grievances aren't being heard, they're going to find a way to be heard one way or the other. And just like the British government, if you just keep putting your fingers in your ears, there's going to be an escalation of that sort of thing. And we have a chance now to listen and take our fingers out of our ears and to listen and to truly take on these issues that have been facing us for decades and centuries, and we haven't really done it as a country. We have a chance now. So we need to do that, and that's where all this comes in. And I think it's all coming from a place of trying to help. If people will just listen and stop being defensive and stop being taken in a certain way, just listen, we can start to heal.
And I think more people are doing that than not. I think it is remarkable that even in that just 4 years, 2016 is when this conversation first starts. And now we sit here in 2020, and the people who are holding the viewpoint of you're disrespecting the troops, you're disrespecting the flag and the country, that is an antiquated thought now. Like, that is an old, tired thought that everybody knows is not true and that everybody knows is a lie. And you brought up the dog whistle, and it immediately lets everybody know who you are and what you stand for and what you represent. And it's not, I stand for this love of the nation, this love of the military. What you stand for when you want to criticize people for taking that knee during the national anthem is some type of racist ideology is what you stand for, because the peaceful protest should not elicit that type of a response from you. The action of taking the knee during a sporting event or before a sporting event should not elicit a visceral response of hate from you. And so it is not the protest that you hate. It is what they are protesting. And what are they protesting? They are protesting the police brutality and the oppression of black people in our criminal justice department, in our criminal justice system. That is what the issue is, and that is what they're protesting. And for you to refuse to acknowledge that because you don't like the way the protests are going, they offend your sensibilities. That is not a real conversation, right? Yeah, again, that is a bad faith argument that you are making, trying to quell people, trying to stop them from talking out about the issues that they face in their day-to-day lives.
I hope the people will listen. I think it's interesting to see that so many of the teams, including the Grizzlies, have taken the opportunity within this bubble to educate themselves and to have discussions within the group about not just about what they can do now, but about history. I mean, history lesson is that's vital, man. I mean, learning about really what's going on. I mean, for example, the idea of the Black Wall Street in Tulsa. I mean, how many people really know and learned in school about what happened there? How many people learned about what happened in the early 20th century here in Memphis, in about a thriving black middle class that was systemically erased and had property and money and everything else taken away. How many people have learned about what has gone on in communities throughout the country, in Philadelphia and Detroit and Oakland, and you can go on, and there are tons of them. And the more you learn about what has happened, the more you understand what needs to happen. And I feel like we're starting to turn that page a little bit. How many people knew about thousands and thousands of lynchings that happened after the Civil War, when slaves were quote unquote emancipated and then were terrorized? You had thousands of people, thousands. So you can understand when you look at those things and how we still haven't gotten to the root of so many of those issues in so many of the discriminatory acts and so many of the terrorizing acts that have happened to black people in this country and their families and their grandparents and great-grandparents, and we're not that far removed. You can understand how this is a very difficult and serious thing that needs to be addressed before we can have a serious conversation about equality and moving forward. I hope we're having, I think we are having some of those conversations now. But to me, it starts with the education aspect of it, and that's why I'm encouraged by what so many of these teams are doing about learning, because I certainly didn't learn about all that stuff in school. You have to go and seek it out. You have to go and talk to people and listen. And I think people are doing that now. I really do, CJ, and I hope that continues to be the case.
I have no reason to believe that it won't be. And again, it is remarkable to me to be just 4 years removed from Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and others taking a knee and being perceived one way, and how quickly the perception of that act has now changed. And again, if you are still of the mindset that this is about somehow disrespecting the military or disrespecting the flag and what that represents, you are sadly mistaken. And you're sadly mistaken, and you're trying to use this to your advantage. Use that argument to get people to stop talking out about the issues that they face in their skin, in their communities every single day.
It's something that I think we'll continue to see throughout this, and I hope I like Mark Cuban going on the offensive on this, and I think that's an important part of the discussion for sure. We're in the Family Leisure Studios. Peter and CJ with you, Zach as well. We'll continue. Your thoughts, 67129. I want to get to some of the folks' thoughts on the talking to all the animals versus speaking all the languages. We're going to get to those as well. That was the question on the Wheel of Conversation. We'll do that when we return. Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 96.1, 87.7.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone.
To 67129. That's the First Bank text line. Or again, if you're watching us live, you can message us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Instagram. Gabe, you got the honors today.
Lead off. Let's do it. And so I wanted to do an honorable mention, but I had to stop lying to myself. So my number 5 song, Big Girls Don't Cry, the Fergie version. Okay, if you've never heard the Fergie version, I'm going to have to play that going to the break.
Fergie version
I went
on us.
Fergie
Come
version.
on.
Big Girls Don't Cry. 4, I went I'd Cry, Stevie Wonder. 3, Don't Cry, Lil Wayne. 2, No Woman, No Cry, Bob Marley. And number 1 should be on every list.
Animals strike curious poses. They feel the heat between me and you. Just leave me standing alone in a world that's so cold. Maybe I'm just too demanding. Maybe I'm just like my father, too bold. Maybe you're just like my mother. She's never satisfied. Why do we scream at each other? This is what it sounds like when doves cry.
When Doves Cry, Prince.
Terrific song. Good list.
Great song.
Good list. You like Fergie? You like the Big Girls Don't Cry Fergie?
Fergie,
You went with two. You had 2 song titles in there that you went the different version that I would have went.
Well, I'll give you. I'll be honest. I considered Fergie. I did consider her. She did not make my list, but I thought that was a good song. There was one though I never heard of. Who was your number 2?
No Woman, No Cry, Bob Marley.
No,
Sure
not
you've
that.
heard
no,
of
not,
it.
no, not that
I
one.
thought that
Who
would
was-
be. I thought for
Don't
sure.
Cry, Lil Wayne.
Yeah, I haven't heard "Don't Cry" by Lil Wayne. Is that an original or is that?
That's an original.
Okay.
That's an original.
All right. I'll give you my list now.
It's not a Lil Wayne did not cover a Don't Cry song.
I thought.
Who knows?
I thought that for sure Bob Marley would be number 1 for you, Gabe.
He made 2.
Yeah,
he was at 2. I had everything from Fergie to Lil Wayne to Bob Marley to Prince. I was all over the place.
I thought this ended up being a pretty tough little category. There was a couple that, like the Fergie version of Big Girls Don't Cry, I thought about it. I like the Justin Timberlake song as well, Cry Me a River, but they did not make my list. Number 5, Let Her Cry by Hootie and the Blowfish. Number 4, When Doves Cry by Prince. Number 3, now I'm going old school Korn back here for this one from my youth. Don't Cry Out Loud by Melissa Manchester. Number 2, Big Girls Don't Cry by the Four Seasons. And here's my number 1.
Hard times you had before you. I knew when I first saw you. You girl, you've always been mistreated, cheated. Don't leave it all
It is Don't Cry by Asia. That's my number one.
Asia.
Asia.
Okay.
Not a big Asia fan.
Fine with the continent. Asia has a doesn't what
They have a few good songs, really good songs.
there's an Asia song that I like. I don't know what it is, but there is an Asia song that I like. I'm pretty sure. What's some of their big hits?
Asia. One has to do with time. Hang on, I'll look.
I'm pretty sure there's an Asia
there-
song that I like. I don't know what it is. I just feel like there's a song that comes on that's I was like,
Heat of the moment. Heat of the moment. You know the heat of the moment. Da-da-da-da. Wildest dreams.
Maybe it's Heat of the Moment. Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
The smiles left your eyes. Pretty good songs, but Don't Cry. I certainly enjoy that one. All right, what's your list?
All right. Number 5 on my list goes way back to country music standard. It's been redone by many, so you could take certainly the Johnny Cash version of it. But I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry by Hank Williams. Number 4, Let Her Cry, Hootie and the Blowfish. Number 3, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, Willie Nelson. I'll skip number 2 for a second. My number 1 song, the same as Gabe's, When Doves Cry, of course, by the great Prince. My number 2 song has the same title as your number 1 song, but it's by a different artist. Wait, that is not.
Let me stop messing with him. Okay, let's get to your good one.
That's not it.
Talk to me softly, there's something in your eyes. Don't hang your head in sorrow, and please don't cry. I know how you feel inside, I've been there before. Something's changing inside you, and don't you know? Don't you cry tonight, I still love you, baby. Don't you cry tonight. Don't you cry tonight, there's heaven above you, baby. And don't you cry tonight.
Is this Tori Amos? Who is
Guns
this?
N' Roses.
That's Guns N' Roses? That's Axl Rose singing? I thought it was a chick.
It's Don't Cry. We all had a Don't Cry
Isn't that funny?
by 3 different artists.
Wow, that's Guns N' Roses. The softer side of Axl. How about that? By the way, when you get to Raider Corey, defer to me. He has already amended his list
All right.
that he posted. So when you get to him, let me know and I'll read his.
All right. Well, we could start there
Okay.
with Raider Corey's top 5.
Somehow, he said, I was busy working, putting the list together, and I completely forgot When Doves Cry. So he had to adjust because that is his number 1. So his number 5 is I Cry, Chris Stapleton. Number 4, Big Girls Don't Cry, Fergie version. Number 3, Cry Me a River, which I thought about, Justin Timberlake. 2, No Woman, No Cry, Bob Marley and the Wailers. Gabe had that. And his number 1, yes, When Doves Cry. He said, Prince, I disrespected Prince, Eli. Sorry.
You cannot disrespect Prince. that's yeah. You cannot leave that off the list if you're a Prince fan, and I know Raider Corey is.
And it was not purposely done. So, all you Prince fans out there, settle down. It's a mistake.
Zed comes with number 5, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. He goes Johnny Cash. Again, that's a very much acceptable version of that song.
I thought about that one.
Number 4, Cowgirls Don't Cry, Brooks and Dunn. Number 3, Cry Me a River, Justin Timberlake. Number 2, Let Her Cry, Hootie the Blowfish. And number 1, When Doves Cry. Ray and Cordova, number 5, Big Girls Don't Cry, The Four Seasons. Number 4, Cry Me a River, Justin Timberlake. 3, Crying by Roy Orbison. Number 2, Who's Crying Now? Journey. And number 1, Jamie's Crying, Van Halen.
Wow, Jamie's crying. I completely forgot about that song.
That one I came really close to having on my list. That would probably have been number 6 for me.
Would it have made my list? I'm not sure, but I didn't even have that in consideration, and I should have. I overlooked that one.
Let's see here. This next list from Jason. Number 5, Don't Cry, Guns N' Roses. Number 4, The Wind Cries, Mary, Jimi Hendrix. Number 3, It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry, Jerry Garcia Band. Number 2, The Sky is Crying, Stevie Ray Vaughan. And number 1, No Woman, No Cry, Bob Marley. Bobby from Midtown. Number 5, Makes You Want to Cry by Trapeze. Okay.
They're terrific artists, by the way.
Number 4, Honky Tonkers Don't Cry by Dale Watson. Number 3, Cry, Cry, Cry by Johnny Cash and the Tennessee 2. That was another one that I really wanted to get on my list, but couldn't. Number 2, No Woman, No Cry. And number 1, Cry Me a River, Joe Cocker live version.
Gabe, yesterday when I brought up the topic for today, you said, man, you're going to have a field day with country songs, right? With crying. Going to be a lot of choices.
A little corn. You figure there'd be some cornball songs, too.
Oh, dude, there's
sappy ones.
There is a lot of country music that there's no doubt there is no doubt that country music lives in the crying. I mean, I think Johnny Cash has like 4
right
that you could put in here. Over on Facebook, John, Don't Cry, Guns N' Roses, Cry, 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 Johnny Cash. I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Cry to Heaven by Elton John. And Cry a While by Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn, Cry Dancing by Nina Nesbitt and NOTD.
NOTD?
Yep. Cry Pretty, Carrie Underwood. Crying in the Club, Camila Cabello.
Okay.
Cry Baby at number 2, Garnet Mims and the Enchanters.
Man.
And number 1, When Doves Cry.
We have to ask Carrie Underwood, is it really possible to cry pretty? Is crying pretty a thing?
She can.
Well, she's pretty, but when she cries, does it make her prettier? No.
It doesn't make her prettier, but it doesn't make her ugly. I think she's still pretty.
I'm going to guess the amount of money she made on the Cry Pretty tour, it was pretty darn good. I don't know about that much. Billy on Facebook, number 5, I Want to Make You Cry, Jeff Bates. Well, that's just rude. Why do you want to make somebody cry? Number 4, She's Not Crying Anymore, Billy Ray Cyrus. Billy Ray, I didn't know Billy Ray did another song other than Achy Breaky Heart.
Yeah, he did Old Town Road.
Old Town Road.
Yeah.
Number 3, She Can't Say I Didn't Cry, Rick Trevino. I think Lee's brother. Number 2, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. And number 1, Don't Cry Joni by Conway Twitty.
Is it thundering outside?
Yes.
Okay.
John, honorable mention, Crying in My Empty Bottle by Tom Waits. I've done that before. Carolyn, honorable mention, Cry Baby, Janis Joplin. Some of those artists. What is NOTD? Will you look up NOTD, Gabe? What is NOTD? What's that mean? What's that stand for? Nina Nesbitt and NOTD. No touchdown. Look up No Touchdown and see what it.
Not often. No. Could be.
It's pronounced noted.
Noted. Okay. How about that?
But I don't. It does not stand for anything. It just, I guess, noted is what.
Different
it's
variation of the spelling.
If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall. Or if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
What are our kids learning today in school? They can't get the spelling right on simple words.
Yeah, no kidding. Noted. Okay. I'll note that. That is duly noted now that is noted.
Duly noted. NOTD.
Duly noted that NOTD is noted. Let's see here. Another list on the First Bank text line. Number 5, Big Girls Don't Cry, 4 Seasons. Boys Don't Cry at number 4 by The Cure. Number 3, When Doves Cry. 2, Cry Like a Baby, The Box Tops. And number
Good
1,
song.
No Woman, No Cry.
Boys Don't Cry by The Cure was one that was close to making my list.
Some honorable mentions here of Cry Myself to Sleep by Del Shannon. I'm a big Del guy. Can't Cry Anymore, Sheryl Crow. Crying Over You, Roy Orbison. Let's see here.
These titles are making me sad.
It's going to make me cry.
God.
Somebody says Crying by Aerosmith. Let's see here. Here goes Nico. Honorable mention to Professional Widow War Cry Mix, Tori Amos. Number 5, Cry Like a Baby, Casey Chambers. Number 4, Wind Cries Mary, Jimi Hendrix. Number 3, When Doves Cry. Number 2, Don't Cry, Guns N' Roses. And number 1, Cry of the, I don't know if I guess Celtic by Flogging Molly. You familiar with the song?
Well, it's got to be Celtic if it's Flogging Molly, right? Isn't it some kind of Irish connection there? It's got to be Celtic, yeah. I'm not familiar with the song, though.
Never heard that one. That one's new to me. Let's see here. Think I've got through all of the list here. One of the texts came in just partially. I don't know. Dre, your text didn't come all the way through.
Yeah, but you can go ahead and text it in. We'll still get it in here, time permitting, before we wrap it up for the day.
No, somebody else comes with I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry by B.J. Thomas. Yeah, I think that song's been done by 30 different people.
Yeah, I didn't know B.J. Thomas did a rendition of it. So you thought today was sad with Cry or Crying. Sometime down the road, we'll do Tears. We'll do Tears. We haven't done that. But tomorrow we're going to do Smile. So we're going to go from Crying to Smile. Any song that has the word Smile in the title would qualify for your 5 favorite songs. So think about that.
I can't really say anything bad about the guy. I mean, he's been fantastic since he's moved over from tight end.
By the way, Eli and Raider Corey going back and forth a little bit on Twitter because Eli came up with I can't think of anything but smiling right off the bat. And like, they just both texted each other or tweeted Smiling Faces Sometimes, which is a great song. But then I told Eli during the break, come on, man.
I didn't tweet anything, but okay.
Well, he tweeted it to you. Sorry. Sarah Smile, Hall & Oates, When I See You Smile, Bad English, Whenever I See Your Smiling Face, James Taylor, Make Me Smile, Chicago, Keep On Smiling. There's a lot of good smile songs, man. So your homework is cut out for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as you get ready for 5 favorite songs tomorrow.
Again, I'm just nothing comes to the top of my head. Nothing against the topic, just that nothing pops to my head. There's been other ones that haven't, and then they end up being, I found a bunch of songs.
That's true, but maybe it's because you're such a lover of country music, and they don't smile too much in country music.
No, we like to be sad. It's about sadness and crying and those types of things. Mid-South Ag Equipment, they'll smile there. And you'll be smiling if you go there for equipment needs, whether it be new equipment, used equipment. Maybe you just need some service on current equipment. They could take care of you at Mid-South Ag. They're online at midsouthag.com. If you go to their website, you can see their inventory of new equipment, see the inventory of used equipment. They've got deals going on, financing options for you right now that you can take advantage of. They've even got a section on there with maintenance and service tips to keep your equipment in good working order. They've got the Case IH Farm All Series of tractors. They've got Bush Hog cutters. They've got lawnmowers, zero-turn lawnmowers from Bush Hog as well. They're just south of Collierville on Goodman Road, just off I-269. It's a half-mile west of the Goodman Road exit off of I-269. That's where you'll find them. And again, online at midsouthag.com. For whatever chores you have, well, you know you need the best equipment in the business, and the people that get that for you are the folks at Mid-South Ag. Time now for 2.5 questions.
Who, what, where, when, how, and why? Questions start with these. Step right up and answer all my questions, if you please.
I'm just a normal kid, like you, except that I ask questions. And because I'm brave enough to ask questions, I come under scrutiny.
Asking all them questions, why you asking all them questions?
Now here is a question for you.
What does the fuck say?
All right, question number 1. You're putting together a group to buy a professional sports franchise. First of all, what team are you buying?
Phillies.
All right. As part of your group, you get a former player from that sport. Doesn't necessarily have to be a former Philly, but a former player from that sport to join your group. Who's that?
Does it have to be a former player? Can't be a current player?
Has to be a former player.
Okay, I guess a current player is not allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because Mike Trout makes sense down the road when he's retired to be part of an ownership group of the Phillies because he's from Millville, New Jersey, which is 40 miles away, 30 miles away. All right, so a former player that I want as part of my team to purchase the Philadelphia Phillies. A former player. I'm going to stick with the organization. I'm going to go with Mike Schmidt.
Okay. A current player from another sport.
Current player from another sport. So they have to have ties, right? Like somebody's not going to just contribute money from if they have no affection for Philadelphia or for the organization. So I think I got to go with, and this is, you said a current player from with another sport, right? Current player. I think I'm going to use the money that Carson Wentz has. So it's going to be Carson Wentz, the quarterback of the Eagles, to purchase the Philadelphia Phillies, or at least use his money.
Okay. Interesting.
Well,
Carson Wentz.
Well,
Didn't see you going Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz has a huge contract. He's in Philadelphia. So that's what I'm just trying to put two and two together. Carson Wentz.
It doesn't have to be somebody that's in Philadelphia or has time. I mean, like
I think
Travis Kelce, part of the Mets ownership team, doesn't make any sense.
Wouldn't this person need a lot more money than what Carson Wentz has, especially in sponsorships and everything else?
We're not talking. I mean, this is
okay,
part of a
theoretical,
bigger
of course.
Group. Yeah, this isn't going to be. This is all of the money you have. Obviously, I don't think Greg's going to be a huge contributor in this.
No, $20. Maybe I can go 50 at most. I'm going to stick with Carson Wentz. He's becoming a fan favorite in Philadelphia. Schmitty, of course, one of the all-time greats. Are we adding any other people to this team?
And then you need a non-athlete celebrity.
Non-athlete celebrity. I'm going with Sly Stallone. The connection with Philadelphia, the Rocky statue in front of the Art Museum. He has plenty of money. Sylvester Stallone to help contribute to the team to buy the Phillies. I like that team right there. Sly Stallone, Carson Wentz, and Mike Schmidt.
I like it other than Carson Wentz.
You know what?
Carson Wentz is a bad choice, but whatever.
Well, I'm just thinking the Philly connection and all that, but you're right. I probably could go somewhere else with that. But I may change up to Will Smith. He's from Philadelphia. He has a lot of money as well. Plus, I bring a minority owner onto this team because I'm too lily white. And Will Smith is loved by everybody. So I'm going to go Will Smith, Mike Schmidt, and I think you've talked me out of Carson Wentz. So I'm going to bring on an obvious choice who has nothing to do with Philadelphia whatsoever and is going to turn me down cold. But since you said it could be anybody, I'm going Peyton Manning to join my ownership team. Because maybe one day...
He's not a current player.
Huh?
Peyton Manning's not a current player.
Current player. Darn. Current player, let me go, because I want to change from Wentz. If I could find somebody good here, it makes sense. I'm going to go Drew Brees. So Drew Brees, current player, no Philly connection, lots of money, big name. Mike Schmidt, of course, one of the biggest names in Philadelphia sports history, Hall of Famer, and then going Will Smith, who's from Philadelphia, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and a lot of money as well. That's my group. I like that group.
Why Breeze?
I just thought of somebody who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, has a lot of money, still plays at a high level, and I could see him as like being a part of an ownership group.
What about LeBron?
We don't want LeBron in Philly. Stinking LeBron. No, I'm only kidding. No, LeBron James, I mean, that's an obvious one too.
Okay.
But okay.
Gabe, who would you buy, by the way? What team would you buy?
Oh gosh, what a question. I don't want to be lame and just say the Cardinals, I'll venture out and I'll say the Titans. Say the Titans. Nashville's a growing city. have a lot of stuff you can do around that city. I think there's a lot of outreach that can be done, and I think that's a good franchise to get in on right now.
I think you're right.
You certainly have a lot of choices in the non-athlete celebrity category with all the country music stars.
Yeah,
if you want to have somebody.
There's a lot of money that could be ponied up. How about I thought maybe you would go Cardinals.
That's what I said. I said I didn't want to be lame and pick Cardinals. And the Cardinals are already just truthfully, they're sort of, as much as pains me to say, they're at their peak. Like, St. Louis is not really a massively growing city day by day, and the Cardinals have won 11 championships, so their money, I feel like you could add value to the Titans, whereas the Cardinals, it's going to be.
If Cardinals are in the past, is that what you're thinking?
No, I'm not saying they're in the past.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're in the past. They'll still beat the Cubs and handle that. But I just think they have.
Shot at him,
hey, I know which one.
I just think that their value is really high. Their value is really high right now.
Okay, I can see that.
All right, question number 2. As I watched, again, I didn't watch it last night, but last night the Cubs and White Sox playing another exhibition game, and Eloy Jimenez is the 4th hitter of the game, hit a grand slam off Yu Darvish. I know, and it's going to pain me for the next 15 years, Eloy Jimenez is going to be the one player that I will never understand why or how the Cubs decided to get rid of him and make a terrible trade. Who's your all-time, from any of your favorite teams, who's your all-time player that got away?
Whoa, good question. Let me think. May take some time. Got to go through my Colts history.
I mean, there to me, that seems like there would be a couple really obvious ones for you, but
you're probably thinking more of what, Phillies?
I can think of one for the Phillies, one for the Colts.
Colts would be, wasn't it Elway? Was that the Colts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it would certainly be John Elway. I also think going back in time, we had Ted Hendricks, and then he went to the Raiders, and he became a Hall of Fame. I think Ted Hendricks is in the Hall of Fame. He may not be. I think he is. Can you look that up, Gabe, if Ted Hendricks is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? If not, he was a perennial Pro Bowler. But, yeah, John Elway would be the one. He didn't want to play there. From the Phillies standpoint, he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, he's Hall of Fame.
Elway's a little different because, obviously, with the fact that it's not like they had him and he would have played there like that. They were kind of forced into that one, so that one's a little different than the guy who was willing to play for you and you just decided to trade him or let him go for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who the Phillies let get away. I know. I absolutely know. It's Ryan Sandberg.
Yeah, that's the one I thought of, obviously, because he's rather obvious for me.
Yes. Yeah, it's Ryan Sandberg. I mean, my memory's not the best, so I had to think about it for a little bit. Yeah, absolutely, Ryan Sandberg. I mean, the Phillies were good in actually making really good trades. Like the Rick Wise, Steve Carlton trade was huge to be able to get Lefty in Philadelphia for all those great years. They made terrific moves. They usually weren't on the other side of the bad move, but with the Cubs, they made so many trades with the Cubs. But the Sandberg thing, yeah, that would come back to haunt the Phillies, no question.
Gabe, is there one for you?
Not in particular. I do remember, I believe the Cardinals, when they got Mark Mulder after that, after his Cy Young year, they shipped off Dan Herron, and they shipped off 3 different guys. I think there was like a couple relievers and Dan Herron, but I really can't think of any for my teams.
I mean, they happen more in baseball than any other sport because you could guys in the minor league, you trade him, and then he ends up being as a great player. And some of those guys you would never have seen it coming. The Cubs, Eloy Jimenez you could see it coming. He's one of the top prospects in baseball through his whole minor league career before they decided to make the terrible trade. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, and
Mark Mulder, and then giving away Dan Herron. And getting Mark Mulder for terrible years in St. Louis, that's an interesting one.
Didn't the Cubs give away Lou Brock?
Yes.
Cubs have a few. Cubs certainly have a few. Cardinals haven't been that bad.
I mean, Cardinals got Ozzie for Templeton.
I think
Templeton wasn't a
the
bad
recent
player, but that
one,
was a great get to get Ozzie, but that's getting the player, not losing the player.
the recent ones they shipped off Tommy Pham. That was
But
one
he's
they could
not-
have kept.
That's not
but
going to be
he's
one they're going to regret that
they're
much.
not. I don't know if they're. I mean, he's a good player. And then Luke Voigt, they shipped him off.
Right.
So I
Hitting dingers for the Yanks.
yeah. So I there's not any in that are too bad for my teams.
From your knowledge of when you
Yes.
started watching them. Obviously, you go back in
Yeah,
history,
I mean-
you could find all that stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't have great knowledge of like the 40s and 50s and 60s. So
In 70s and 80s.
hey, 70s and 80s now. You can get in my wheelhouse there. I can handle that.
Question number 3. With Myers Leonard being the champion beer shotgunner, apparently, of the NBA bubble. Mm-hmm. Give me your rankings of what you believe, or who you would believe would be the top 3 Grizzlies beer chuggers.
Top 3 Grizzlies beer chuggers. Okay.
Easy money at number 1. Jonas Valanciunas.
Well,
Yeah, I think
Easy money.
Yeah.
I think
I already had him in my mind.
I
was
think
just-
everybody would probably put him number 1.
Okay. I think Dylan Brooks. I don't even know if these guys drink alcohol or not, but Dylan Brooks seems like a guy that would be able to guzzle.
If Chandler Parsons was here, him and Jonas would be a good battle.
Oh gosh. But let's see. I don't know. Some of these guys could be like just against alcohol. They don't drink at all. But I'm going to go Dylan Brooks. Jonas Valanciunas is an obvious one, in my opinion. And then the third one,
Think Grayson Allen could drink a beer.
no.
I do, actually. I would. I would. I don't know.
Was it all the white guys? The
I don't know-
only
I
ones
don't
that
know
are
if I-
beer guzzlers?
I don't know if I'd have. I don't think I'd have him top 3, but I do. I have a feeling Grayson Allen has shotgunned a beer or two.
Yeah, let's go. Marco Guterich, Grayson Allen.
Hey, I was going to say
John
Brandon
Konchar
Clark.
and Jonas
I'd say Brandon
Valanciunas.
Clark. I think Brandon
All the
Clark could
white
do it.
guys.
He was in college for a while.
He was. I got a feeling he's like a vegetarian type guy. He doesn't.
That's
and-
to me that you just said the magic thing. I think like guys who went to college for like, especially if you spent 4 years at college.
Well, that's why I picked Brooks with Oregon and all that. But who am I missing here? Let's see. Jang and
I do think
Tolliver.
Konchar would be up on my list.
Yeah, well, you know him a little bit better because you know.
I do think Brandon Clark, as you said, would be a possibility.
Tolliver, he's older. We give him. He could drink.
I
some
don't know.
beer.
Yeah, I don't know if he's guzzling.
Let's put him on the
Is
list.
Kyle Anderson guzzling?
I think Justice Winslow could.
That's the one guy I was
But
thinking
there's one
about.
other one that I think still would be
An
my
obvious?
choice. Would be my third.
Jaron Jackson Jr.?
No,
I don't think
He's-
so.
He's not even old enough yet.
He's never tasted beer. Yeah, I'm sure. The fine taste of beer, the hops and the barley. And there's one that's obvious. You
Not
said
necessarily obvious. Of just there's. I mean, Jonas would certainly be in my top 3. I
You
would
can
not
make
have
me
Dylan
say
Brooks
Josh
in my top
Jackson?
3. Yes, Josh
That's the one.
Jackson.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's the one you're going for. Actually, you know what?
There's no doubt Josh Jackson.
Hey, Josh Jackson strikes me as a hard liquor guy.
nah. You know what? You guys are right. Josh Jackson is. I didn't even think about him. I'm going Dylan Brooks, Josh Jackson, Jonas Valanciunas.
You're putting Jonas third?
No particular order. Jonas would be
Well, I
one.
ask it from in order.
Oh, Jonas.
You're
would be-
ranking your top 3.
Jonas 1, Josh Jackson 2, Dylan Brooks 3.
Jonas strikes me as a guy who can drink like 50 beers in one sitting with how big he is.
I would go Jonas, Jackson, probably Konchar, but I think Justice Winslow would be up there. I have a feeling Justice Winslow could.
I would really like to know, like, if these guys, like, which guys drink alcohol, some probably don't, and see how close or off we'd be with these guesses. Because, like I said, Brooks to me seems like, college guy, Oregon, he's probably down some beers, and he probably shotgun a beer pretty well, and then you find out like he's never had alcohol in his life or something. So I have no idea. A couple other things, real quick. The SWAC, and this was announced yesterday, has postponed all their fall sports. So you have a number of different conferences, but SWAC, no football, MEAC, no football. And again, these most of these that we've heard are 1AAs, but these FCS schools, a lot of them are on the Power Five or the Group of Five schedules. Not a lot of them, but some of them. And so then you're going to have a reshuffling if those conferences, and we're talking now about the FBS conferences, end up having more than just conference games.
Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why.
For if we don't find the next whiskey bar. Telling you, man, do I sound like Jim Morrison? So I don't sound drunk in a bathtub having a bad night. Good. Okay. Just making sure. But he did sound good there. I'll tell you that. I love me some Jim. I love me some old good music. But I will tell you one thing. I also like talking about some really cool stuff. And I love baseball, and I love people that love baseball. I'm in Hoop City. I also love people that love basketball and the Grizzlies. Well, I get both with one of my very good friends who I'm also very impressed and proud of. And I do have to say before I even bring him on, because if I pushed anything, he'd say something. But I'm going to bring him on now after I say this. Damn, man, I'm impressed. You're one of the best fathers I've ever seen. Rob Fisher, how's life treating you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Man, I am blessed. I'm happy. I'm excited about Thursday. I feel like a 2-year-old child. We actually did our fantasy draft this year. I've got like bets out for who wins this year's World Series and divisions and stuff, you know. So yes, I'm very, very dang excited, and I'm joking. I'm not joking when I say this. I lost my mind when I woke up this morning and I saw that hashtag boycott baseball, and I literally almost said to myself, because when I saw that it was trending, I first thought it was going to be really bad. But then I saw like 39 people who were like, boycott baseball. And I saw like 27,000 people who made fun of them. They're like, if you can't figure out now that this isn't disrespect to the people who have fought for this country, this is no disrespect to America, we're at a different time, then, well, we'll lose 39 people. I loved how people are like, I laughed at one of them. They were like, so we'll see you, I guess, at 6 o'clock in the morning watching bowling, straight into soccer, and then you're going to turn off the TV the rest of the day. Like, come on now.
The people who don't like baseball don't like baseball. I mean, that's fine. Whatever.
Fine.
But to try and convince everybody is just silly. I mean,
especially
today. Absolutely, baseball's had some problems, and have they stepped on their own toes a lot of the times? Yeah, they absolutely have done that too. But it's still a game, and it's still a great game of baseball. And you know,
honestly,
aren't fans, I think baseball.
I think they got more fans yesterday. I think they got more fans. I think
they'll get more fans starting Thursday.
That's what I'm saying. I thought like by kneeling and actually having a manager who's kneeling, and I just thought the up and down respect that they showed. Also saying that hey, we need change. And I mean, there's nobody in the stands. It was a preseason game. People, I thought they were making a big deal out of it. I laughed so hard. So I will say, it does feel good to know that this is just like when I woke up this morning and saw that trending. This was more so just people making fun of those imbeciles, right?
Yeah, I would guess. I mean, that would.
Amen.
Yeah, that'd be my assumption as well. But screw that, because I'm ready for Thursday. I'm excited about the season starting, and I think it'll be interesting. It's a dash for the cash, man. I mean, 60-game schedule, and
60 games, 66 days.
You go into the season, basically, it's open for anybody. I mean, how many times have we seen throughout the years where some of the worst teams in the league get off to good starts, and because they're young and you don't know much about them, and over the grind of 162 games, maybe it doesn't work out for them and they end up falling to the pack, but they could get off to good starts. The Marlins have done it many times in the past where they've gotten off to good starts. The Pirates have gotten off to good starts when they haven't had great teams. The Oakland A's have gotten off to great starts when they have had young teams that weren't supposed to contend. And, this year you get off to a great start and it puts you in contention. I was looking at some of the preseason prognostications for Major League Baseball, and it's amazing how many different teams are selected to win division titles from these preseason picks.
I
mean,
thought it was fun, actually.
The National League Central, you've seen the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Cubs, and the Reds. I mean, all four of them you've seen. The American League Central, you've seen the Twins, the Indians, and even the White Sox are getting a whole lot of love this year. And
Which I think they
League,
need to pump those brakes. I've smoked some. Never mind.
Yeah, maybe not yet. I mean, they're one of those teams that are young and dumb. And what if they get off to a great start? I mean, you get off to a great start.
Tim Anderson, I know what you're saying. Nomar Mazara, if he gets healthy. You have Jose Abreu still over. They're waiting for Yan Mikata. I keep hearing that. But if Lucas Giolito's really going to lead this damn team, I think they're smoking some major, you know what I'm saying over there. And I know they get to play Detroit, who's really damn bad. But, dude, I'm telling you, watch out for Cleveland. Watch out for Minnesota.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Those two teams, I think, are your front runners. But you have seen Chicago mentioned. I mean, I saw something today.
That is true. Now, actually, it made me cry. Actually, three people.
One sportsbook has more bets for Chicago winning the World Series than any other team.
That's funny. I was getting ready to say, one of my favorite places in the whole world is Fantrax, and I don't know if you've been there. It's a very stat-driven type of website, and they have 24 basic MLB guys, and 3 of them had the White Sox. 5 had the Indians. Shockingly, I'm sorry. It's actually they have 30. They have 32 for 32. So it was. I'm sorry, 3 White Sox, 6 Indians, and 24 Twins. So those are their expert picks. And you see what I'm saying? A couple of people still pick the White Sox. So everybody, you can say, you can look at this, but I feel like the Twins and Indians, because Twins, Jose, Barrios, people forget about him. They can hit the ball hard as hell. But I like Shane because I'm a believer, baby. I'm a believer. I think Shane Belieber and Mike Clevenger's goofy you-know-what. I think Cleveland's got a chance that I think the Indians are the one that's going to come out of the AL Central.
Yeah, and but I think it's great because every division has multiple teams other than the National League West.
Yeah, true that. Dodgers,
and maybe
Dodgers.
The American League East.
Well, so Dodgers and Yanks. Yes, good idea. You're right.
Even in those divisions, you got the Rays could be a wild card team.
A lot of people, by the way, do you know that? By the way, do you know that 12 people on that picked the Tampa Bay Rays because of their young pitching staff?
Yeah, I mean, and San Diego Padres are a team that many are looking at in the National League West. Maybe not contending with the Dodgers, but contending for a wild card spot. The East has got 3 teams that you're looking at. So. I mean, I think it's wide open, and that makes it exciting. And over a 162-game grind, well, maybe it's not this wide open, and we could eliminate some of those teams right off the bat. But in a 60-game sprint, hey, I think it's wide open, and I think that's exciting.
All right, hold on. I got to interrupt you right now.
Sports is exciting.
I got people out there who are wondering what the hell's going on. They're like, John Harden's talking with the Rob Fisher, sideline reporter for the Grizzlies, nothing but baseball. But isn't it today that at 2:30 you're doing a preview of the Odd Couple, MLB, nothing but MLB, right, today?
Yeah, today we're recording the latest Odds Couple, which has been
tearing
it's been
it up.
tough. It's been on hiatus because there haven't been any games to talk
about. That's why I'm saying you've been tearing it up, dude. Can't lose.
Yeah, we did an NFL draft show. We did a preview of the golf season, and today we're recording. It'll drop tomorrow. The Odds Couple on Grind City Media, a preview of the Major League Baseball season, and then a week from tomorrow we'll drop a preview of the NBA season resuming as well. So. We'll have a couple of shows here over the next couple of weeks on Grind City Media, and it'll come out tomorrow. The Odds Couple previewing the Major League Baseball season. Craig Unger, president of the Redbirds, he's going to join us as well. You know how big of a baseball fan he is. So we're going to talk some baseball with him and some of the ramifications for the Redbirds as well, and, their season being shut down and what that means. So we'll talk about those things with Craig, and then we'll look at all the odds and all the numbers and for the upcoming season. And some of them, I mean, it's crazy in a 60-game season. The over over-under for home runs is 20.5 to lead the league. And you think in a 60-game season,
Wasn't it that year in
that's the pace for
1998,
about
Sammy
50
Sosa hit, I think, what was it, 21 in a month, July?
in a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, after he had, I think he had 9 in the first 48 games,
Yup.
and then he had like 21 in
Went
the next
crazy.
22 games or something crazy like that. Yeah.
Mm. Well, this year, you're right. Everything is, it's all about everything, but I'm going to ask you something. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't know if you heard any of the first segment because you're a very busy human being, and you're a great dad and you do so many wonderful things. But I talked about how Atlanta, with they have Mike Soroka and Max Fried and Mike Fulton-Awavich, and you get Cole Hamels as your 4 pitcher. Sean Newcomb is your 5. I mean, if he can just find the damn strike zone, he is nasty. But the thing is last year Luke Jackson was their main pitcher in the bullpen. And then this year, he's their number 4. He's the guy who's going to come in the 6th inning. And in the 7th, you're going to have Shane Green. And in the 8th, you're going to have Will Damn Smith getting jiggy with it. And then Mark Melanson to close things out. When you look at that starting pitching, you have Freddie Freeman, who has a new lease on life. You have one of the greatest young kids in Ronald Acuna. You love Ozzie Albies. Heck, if you like Vanderbilt, you probably think Dansby's going to do something. You know what I mean? They're young. They're talented. It just feels like in a small season, they could get hot. Am I crazy?
No, I love the Braves this year, and I think we've seen their growth, and they've done it the right way. 2 years ago, I think they were a little ahead of schedule, really kind of contending for a playoff spot and really not being they were a tough out for everybody that they played, and I think they were a little further ahead than what people thought they would be. And then last year they were a terrific team, and they got a taste of playoff experience, despite it blowing out at the end to St. Louis. But, I think the Braves, those young guys that you just mentioned, you've seen them progress over the last couple of years, and they make that next progression. And with that lineup and with a solid guy like Freddie in the middle, and then the rotation that you're talking about, I don't see why the Braves shouldn't be a contender this year. And looking at the odds last night, the Braves have the second best odds to win the World Series in the National League behind only the Dodgers. So, and I think that's right. And I love their manager, Brian Snitker. And in a short season, man, it's going to be about chemistry, and it's going to be about staying healthy, and it's going to be about guys coming together quickly. And I think Snitker is a great guy to be in charge of something like that for the Braves.
Now, I know you're a big Cardinals fan. I ain't going to do this to you because I know it's there's a lot of questions. God, dog from the bullpen is the last 5th starter. What's going to do? I ain't got that much time. I love you. But I want to get to the Grizz, and I want to get to this bubble. I want to get to Dwight Howard, anti-vaxxer. I want to get to the craziness. And I want to get to Justice. What do you know about Justice Winslow?
Just what I saw today.
Basically what you've heard. Just I mean, this year he's done, right?
Yeah, and it's too bad. I mean, he was scheduled to make his Grizzlies debut when the season was halted back in Portland in mid-March, and he was ready to go. And
then we had COVID.
Then giving him all this time to get healthy, and everything was looking great, and he was ready to go. And then now he injures himself yesterday, and he's done for the season. And it's too bad because that's one of the things with the Grizzlies, I think, that kind of made them an unknown going into the restart of the NBA season. A guy who's going to play a major part in your team, yet there's no film on him being with the team. So I thought that was great for the Grizzlies, and it's really unfortunate that that's not going to happen now.
Well, this is why I wanted to ask you that question. I'm sorry I was interrupting you to try to get there because I know I'm running low on time. But I got to know, like Danny Greens goes on live TV basically right before the Justice Winslow information comes out. And he basically says and usually you don't hear players say this, especially when they play for the number 1 seed in the, you know what I mean? You just don't hear this. And you know what he said? I would much rather play the Grizzlies in Portland. And I thought to myself, did Danny Green just say that? Like, did he know about the Winslow injury? And by the way,
For me, for some reason, am I crazy? You know this team better for me than I do. But with Jonas, with JV down there, with Clark, what he's been doing, with the fact that Ja comes back and has put on 12 pounds of muscle, just everything that's going on with this team. Taylor Jenkins is now. It's not like he's a rookie coach anymore. I feel like they got something going. Are they looking way too much at just one individual who hasn't even played a dead gum game for the Grizzlies? When they start talking about like other teams being better, and I know they opened up this whole thing for Zion or for Dame time, but dadgummit, don't you believe the Grizzlies are going to play the Lakers realistically in the first round of the playoffs?
I don't think they get swept. I mean,
I sure don't either.
They competed with the Lakers for 3 quarters in Los Angeles, had one bad quarter, cost them the game. They beat the Lakers at home. They got blown out by the Lakers the other time in Los Angeles. So they've shown they can compete with the best teams in the league. And, you talk about Taylor Jenkins not being a rookie anymore. John Morant's not a rookie anymore.
That's right.
And with Jaren Jackson back healthy and Brandon Clark back healthy, yeah, I think the Grizzlies could be a tough out for anybody because they play with, despite being a young team, they play with such a great confidence and play as such a unit together. I think the Grizzlies will definitely make the playoffs. I think they'll take on the Lakers, and I don't think it'll be a sweep. I think the intimidation of being at Staples Center, the intimidation of playing against the LeBron-led team and Anthony Davis, I think that's all out the window because of the situation that you're in the bubble. Now granted, the Lakers, you could say they'd have an advantage because they just have the best players, and that's what it's going to come down to. I think you can find advantages and disadvantages for every team in this environment, but I think the Grizzlies are going to make it tough on anybody that they play, and because they play with confidence, they can play so well together. If you talk about everybody from the head coach down to all the players, talked about the spirit of the team and the cohesiveness that they're having straight out of coming to the bubble and straight out of quarantine and how much they've gotten together. And I think that's been a big part of their success this year as well. Nice mix of veterans with young players, good depth on this team. The Winslow injury certainly hurts, but I think you still have really good depth on this team that could, health, depth, chemistry are all going to be huge in Orlando. And I think the Grizzlies have
in the bubble all the way to the NBA championship. We're so happy to have you, Ron. But let's start with this Winslow story. Some guys are just hard luck. Do you think that's the story of Justice Winslow?
Well, it appears to be, and thank you, gentlemen, for having me, and I appreciate you guys having me, and good afternoon. It appears that the Grizzlies, and I hate to sound super negative, but just have the best luck with injured athletes. When you go back to Jordan Adams, when you talk about Chandler Parsons, and now you're talking about Justice Winslow, who had injury concerns in Miami, it's just I don't know why this organization seems like they can just fix people. But having said all of that,
and Ron, those organizations he's being traded from, they have the best medicals, are the teams they were with, like Chandler Parsons. They have the best medicals on them that you can imagine having, and there's a reason why they're so ready to get rid of them.
Yeah, and you know what? And you're right, Stacks. And having said everything that I just said, everybody who I speak with in NBA circles loves this kid. They super believe in his talent. They think he is an awesome talent, and he could be the wing guy that's been missing ever since they foolishly traded away Rudy Gay. But his health is going to be a concern going forward, and I don't know how anybody else can think otherwise.
I agree with that.
I don't know how you can either, Ron. And I don't look. I am not. I clearly am not here to second guess or criticize, even ever so slightly, the trade for him, but we know how it would have been treated if some previous regimes had done this.
That's absolutely correct. They bet a lot on this kid. I think there were 3 players involved in that trade, and they bet big time on the fact that he would be healthy, and that he would be the young guy that would put him over the top. And like I said, I've talked to so many people in NBA circles who really love this guy's talent, and it's just a shame that he can't get on the floor. I mean, he hasn't. He's done more for social justice reform than he's done in terms of scoring buckets for the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, we don't even know him in Memphis. So it's in that regard, it's really unfortunate.
Well, he's got a good name for justice.
Right. There you go.
I'm going to go back to something you just said, though. It's like 3 strikes and you're out here. Let's go back to Jordan Adams, and then it was Chandler Parsons, which was just – that was really a bad error.
That ended a lot of people's careers.
And I don't think they listened to the doctors close enough here. I think there were plenty of people that warned them about Chandler Parsons.
Yes, sir.
And they went ahead with it anyway. The Jordan Adams thing, though, I think we're talking about 3 really different regimes, aren't we? That all made the same mistake, because this is clearly, a different guy that made the call on Justice Winslow.
Yeah, well, you know what? Also, those Wolo, this is clearly a franchise that's dishonest about injury. You never get the truth.
True.
So they say, well, he'll be ready for next season. I mean, should we believe that? Do we believe that? I don't know.
We never get the truth on season ticket sales. We never get the truth on box sales.
You never get the honest truth about a guy's condition. When I was doing this thing for a lot of years, they shot straight with you, and you just don't get it. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but it's really unfortunate for the fans who pour their money into season tickets and into believing, what they say, believe Memphis, and believing about the Memphis Grizzlies, and I just don't think you get the honest truth from them. So having said all that, I wish the best for this kid, because he's a talented kid. He can help them a lot, and you want to see him get back on the court. But I think the franchise has to be honest about what his condition is and what the future looks like with Justice Winslow.
The original injury when he first got here, if I recall, was back, wasn't it? It was not.
Yeah.
It was not lower extremities of any kind. It certainly wasn't hip. It wasn't legs. I think he had an issue with his back. He's had this issue a couple of times. This appears to be totally unrelated. And the way it's described in everything that I've read 2 different things. One from them, and one was a story, I believe, from either the Commercial Appeal or the Daily Memphian, that there was a little scrimmage last night. There was a bit of contact made, and he went to the ground, and the next thing you know, it's a hip injury, and he's out for the year. They're not really letting you know exactly how hard, how physical was that. I mean, it makes it sound like it's a little collision. Down he goes, and he just can't get up.
Well, you said it best just a moment ago, Warlow. When you talked about not listening to the doctors, we got some fine doctors that work on the Memphis Grizzlies who may as well be Dr. Fauci, because they don't listen to them. And when you say it doesn't appear to be unrelated, it absolutely is. These things affect your core. So, when you think about a guy like Michael Dickerson, who went through the abdominal thing and then had other injuries associated with that, when you think about Jordan Adams, who had injuries that affected other parts of his body, I mean, it does become related. When you think about Chandler Parsons, and this is where I'm on the Chandler Parsons bandwagon, the Grizzlies did him such a disservice because they pushed him out on the court to try to prove a point, and what they ended up doing was ruining his other leg. And, so these things do become intertwined and related to one another when the team is just telling you to shut up and dribble.
Well, and at some point, Ron, it can't just all be coincidental and happenstance.
Yeah, and that goes back to Wolo's point, because I'm not going to impugn the integrity of, and I know you're not, but other doctors who work with the Grizzlies, because they get expert advice.
It's not the doctors. It's the front office suits that never give the whole loaf. It's always a piece or two, and it's on everything, even to right now. The still not the public disclosure of exactly how you're going to do the money for the season ticket holders and the tickets that were bought for the remainder of the season that we know are not going to be replayed.
Yeah, and it's just all about being honest and transparent. It's not about bashing the franchise. It's just about, give your loyal customers the information, I know some of my former colleagues are trying their darndest to find out the real information, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult because you can't get straight answers.
You know, this is the unluckiest franchise too. We just went through those three, but now it comes to my mind. You mentioned Dickerson, and what was he had like? It was
he had the muscle tear of the muscle on the pelvis.
Yes,
and and it's very easy to treat it improperly. My middle nephew had the very same injury, and we found a doctor at Campbell Clinic that helped a lot on it. But it is diagnosed as a hip pointer, and you try to stretch it out, and that's the last thing to do to it. And then they finally found it, and it wrecked Mike D's career.
It ended his career. He never
it ended his career.
And I'll tell you another guy that the Grizzlies got when they first got here. And he was here for all of 3 games, and his career was over. It was Big Country Reeves.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
There's another guy.
Yeah. And
Big Country.
So,
boy, I didn't have that in the bingo today that he'd be mentioned.
Oh, my goodness.
who had Big Country out there today?
I hope I'm not being offensive when I said, that was one of my first exercises when I was trying to find Bigfoot. Because trying to find Big Country was trying to find Bigfoot. Like you could not find this guy, but he was hurt, and there was a lot of people that loved him and still adore him. But he was injured, and you just couldn't get any straight answers. He
was big and he was country.
But I got to tell you something, and I think it was from a story that I read from you. It almost made me want to cry because first of all, I thought he was a good guy. I kind of liked him, and I, back in those days. So this is when they first get here. He got like guaranteed $20 million. Like that was unbelievable back then.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable now.
But it was like $20 million. And you did this story, and it almost teared me up when I'm reading it because we're all going, "Oh hell, he's great. He's getting $20 million. He's going to go right off and buy his ranch or whatever the heck he's going to do." And
buy his hometown.
And you write this thing where he had a young baby at the time, like it's a little girl, and your story goes. And the bad thing is he can't even pick up his little girl.
Yeah.
So here's this big, strapping dude. He can't even pick up his 1-year-old girl because his back's so bad.
I know. It was really sad because some bad things happen to a lot of good people.
Yep.
And when you talk about Big Country and you talk about Dickerson, Jordan Adams, I'll never forget, I was in Las Vegas for Summer League, and he said, "I'll talk to you." He said, "Whenever you want to talk." And then he got shut down. The team did not want me to talk to him to tell the
embargoed him. Yeah,
the truth about his injury, and so I just going back full circle to Winslow. I just hope we know the truth about him because the kid has a lot of potential, and I just think he'll get the proper treatment. It's just a matter of how honest that they're going to be with such a big time. Transaction. They gave up a lot to get that kid, and again, here's a kid, and I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm not overplaying it when I say that could have been the remedy to their failed mission to replace Rudy Gay.
I'm with you. Kyle Anderson, I guess, will be the guy now, right?
Yeah, and I think he'll start in the bubble, and they. That was a different regime, but they spent a lot to get him, and they believed in him, and they thought he could be a game changer. But having said all that, I think the Grizzlies are still in a good position in this bubble. They're operating from a position of strength in terms of having a 3.5 game lead, and they would have to do now what they had to do when the season ended, and that's just to continue to win. A 3.5 game lead with 17 to go, when you got to play Portland twice and New Orleans twice, that was not much of a cushion.
I like this cushion this way. I really do. I'll be shocked if they don't hold on, even with this loss, if they don't hold on to 8. Certainly they'll get to 9, and they'll be in a play-in situation. Ron, as always, we look forward now to this slot on Tuesdays because we know we're going to be with you.
Oh, man, absolutely. I certainly appreciate you guys, and I look forward to the NBA starting up again. You know, one of the things that's good in the last couple of days is that they tested 346 people, and they had not one positive test. So that's beating odds. That's beating odds.
That's a big win.
Well,
put that one on the board.
It
yes.
shows you that isolation and a bubble can work.
Yep, and wearing a mask.
And wearing a mask. There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're with you. Thank you, Ron.
All right, guys. Take care.
You too.
Thank you, Ron Tillery.
Ron Tillery. Always a pleasure, and he'll be with us now all the way through the bubble to the NBA championship on Tuesday afternoon.
Dave, do you think this makes bubble harder or easier for the Grizzlies without Winslow? Or, you know, again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Can't miss anything we never had.
I would have to think it's harder because he was an extra body that you were going to have that was going to learn the system.
He was going to be the X factor. That's it.
Yeah. But it's not like losing Ja or Jaren. I'll say that.
No. Don't even mention that.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Conway Services. How are you? You've had a good last week, let's say. Everything all right?
Yeah, it's been a beautiful last week. Yeah, everything is great, man. We're with everything that's going on, there's definitely some sunlight that's been shining on the university. You know, with a couple of decisions that have been made for sure.
We've needed that. There is no question about that. So let's talk a little bit about this summer and kids coming back and how. Let's start with health. Are we finally healthy now?
We're very healthy. No one is injured. Everybody's working hard. Got some guys that are a little out of shape, which is understandable because during the COVID, wasn't really much they could do, but from home. But other than that, everyone is working hard.
And how have you spent this crazy summer where for so many weeks we were inside? You couldn't recruit except, I guess, through your computer. How has this been for you?
It's actually been okay for me because, you know, Zoom meetings or Zoom calls, FaceTime calls, phone conversations, I've been able to get more in-depth with the recruits. You know, when we have a busy schedule, you call guys once or twice a week. Now I've been calling guys 4 and 5 times a week, and I have a list of names that Cody gives me every morning that we kind of go over who we need to contact in each class, and every day I'm texting, FaceTiming, calling, and making sure that the kids know that we're very interested in them.
And then, if you don't mind, tell us about the kid you can talk about that made his decision last week, top 9 or 10 in the country, and you saw him high school-wise at Lausanne, and Musa Cisse. What was that chase like?
It was a true blessing to get Musa. You know, obviously, he's one of the top bigs in the country, one of the top players in the country. I think he was number 1 in the 21 class, reclassed to 20. And, man, I recruited him extremely hard. I mean, I probably have 1 million FaceTime hours with him because I never really called regularly. I FaceTime so he could see my face and we can have in-depth conversations. And ultimately, he wanted to go to the league. He had 2 dreams. He said he wanted to be a top 3 pick in the draft, and he wanted to